you want to learn how to bake a cake and get some extra questions answered, then stick around. I'm going to answer those for you right now. Hi, I'm Amanda Gulik from Clever Dough Cakes, and if you love baking cakes, learning yummy new recipes and fun cake decorating ideas, then make sure you click subscribe and hit that notification bell so that YouTube will let you know the minute my next video comes out. Alright, if you're ready to learn some of the behind the scenes of how to bake a cake, then give me a like and let me know in the comments below. Yes, I'm ready. So if you haven't already, make sure that you check out my How to Bake a Cake video, where I share with you my special secret family sponge cake recipe. It is absolutely delicious, it is light and fluffy, and it brings up a lot of questions. So today I'm going to answer your questions for you about my sponge cake recipe. Alright, one of my most recent comments was from Sherpa Derpa. Thank you for your comment. And Sherpa asked, couldn't you bother telling us the measurements? Actually, if you look in the description below that video, you will see the measurements for making the cake. If you were talking about the pan size, I have a tip for you. A 9-inch round pan is perfect for the sponge cake recipe. But it doesn't have to be a round pan. You can use a casserole dish, you can use whatever pan will go in your oven. But that gives you a rough idea of the size of cake that you're going to get from that sponge cake recipe. Thank you for that great question. Alright, my next question is from Tikam Gwen. And actually, this is a question that I have had many times on the channel. I uploaded my original How to Bake a Cake video way back in 2009. So it's been on YouTube for a very long time, and as you can imagine, it's really interesting that this recipe doesn't have any butter or milk or oil in it. So I get asked that question all the time. The reason is this is actually a sponge cake recipe, and a sponge cake is a really light and fluffy cake recipe. And what it does is it has more eggs in it than a normal cake would, which allows the air bubbles to be trapped in the cake and rise. Now, if you were to add butter or milk or oil to the cake recipe, unfortunately that is very heavy and dense, and it would stop the eggs from holding onto the air bubbles, and you'd end up with a dense, more like a pound cake. Not that there's anything wrong with a pound cake, but if you want a light, fluffy cake, then the sponge cake recipe is amazing. It's also really great for anyone who has lactose intolerance, as there is no milk in this cake. Great question, thank you. Alright, let's have a look at the next question. Alright, so Ukegu Stella asked, what if I don't have a baking pan? Is there another alternative? And yes, you can get really creative as long as you have something that is safe to use in an oven. Go for it. Literally, I have had times when I had no baking utensils or pans or anything, but I had aluminum foil. I have been known to form a pan out of aluminum foil. It does work. You just want to bake it at a lower temperature since it's a really thin material and you don't want your cake to burn. So just bake it at a lower temperature, maybe for a little bit longer. But get creative. Again, like I mentioned, you can use casserole dishes. You can even split the recipe up into different mugs and bake it in your mugs. There are so many different ways. I've used muffin tins. This is also the recipe that I use in my cupcake video. Alright, our next question is from Ithioma Okiki. I do apologize if I am mispronouncing your names. Please forgive me. Leave me a message and let me know how you prefer them to be pronounced properly. I totally get that. Alright, so the question is, can I bake in glass in the oven? Yes, most glass is perfectly fine in an oven. You can always just double check that you have an oven safe glass. I have not yet come across one that does not work, but just use your best judgment. You can always go to your local household store and check what kind of baking pans they have there. And now I've just got a really nice comment from Vince Siraj TV, who says that the video is very soothing to watch. Thank you, I appreciate that. I hope that it inspired you to make your own cake. Sonali Pawar has a fabulous question, and that is, can I use lemon juice instead of lemon extract? Absolutely, and actually, since I posted that video way back in 2009, I actually prefer to use lemon juice now. I no longer use lemon extract. I find that it just has an unnatural taste, and so I prefer lemon juice. It just makes it so much more refreshing, and it has a tartness that the extract doesn't have. That goes really well with the light, subtle sweetness of the cake. So definitely you can use lemon juice, and I would just use the same amount, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. It's perfect. Great question. Anne-Marie George asked, I didn't see when you put the sugar in. No worries. You can always go to the video and then back it up, and you'll see exactly when each ingredient is put in. The sugar, I like to put the sugar in with the egg yolks and whip that together to make a really nice frothy, creamy batter before folding that into the egg white mixture. And just a big thank you. There are so many lovely comments on my video thanking me for the cake, telling me that I've inspired you to bake your very first cake ever. It really fills my heart with such love and happiness to know that my cake has entered your life and made your life better in just the tiniest little way, even if it is on the end of a yummy fork. This wonderful comment from, alright, I'm not even going to try to say your name. I really would hate to say it wrong, so have a look at the screen. Ta-da! You are a great baker. You should have a restaurant. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I actually do get asked that a lot because I am pretty well known for my cake decorating skills. I get asked often, why don't you have a cake decorating business at home where you decorate cakes and get paid for each one individually? And I have a very good reason for that. As much as I love decorating cakes, as you might be able to hear, I don't have very strong lungs, and so baking is actually quite difficult for me now. So there would not be any possible way for me to bake consistently anymore. A couple of years ago I was in a coma, which you can see in this playlist over here, my experiences near death and being in a coma and coming back from that. Before that happened, I still didn't bake and decorate cakes for a living. And the reason is because I am an entrepreneur at heart who absolutely loves passive income. And so my passion in life is actually to teach you how to bake a cake one time and get paid for it over and over and over again. When you bake a cake and decorate it, it takes hours, days, weeks of planning to make a really fabulous cake. And then you'd have to charge an awful lot of money, hundreds of dollars, in order to earn back your time and your ingredients. So what I like to do is I like to photograph and video the making of the cakes and then share that with you here on YouTube to inspire you so that you can make your own cakes instead. And I also offer books and courses. Another wonderful question that I get asked a lot, Agu Franca asks me, this cup of sugar and flour, how many grams? And that is a great question because yes, I am in Canada, and so of course I use cups and teaspoons. But I also lived in New Zealand where we used milliliters, so I totally understand that it might not be the measurement you're familiar with. So if you go to the description, I've got a link in there to a conversion chart for you. I hope that really helps. Emily Nabwire asks me, what is vanilla extract? Where do I get this? So vanilla is a bean, and an extract is when they've taken the bean and they've put it through a process that extracts the oils from it and creates a smaller, condensed version of the essence. And so that is the extract, which you can find in your supermarket. If it's not in your area, feel free to try a different flavor instead. Dustin Price asks me, do you use butter on the pan? And yes, in that video, How to Bake a Cake, my original video that you can see again over here, I did use butter in the pan to help make the cake not stick to the pan. And in that case, I coated the pan in butter, and then I sprinkled flour on it to dust it, and then tap the flour off. And that helps the cake not stick. However, by doing that, it's not good for anyone who is lactose intolerant. So if you need to make a cake that has absolutely no butter in it, then what I would suggest you do is just take some parchment paper and line the bottom of your pan with it. And the easiest way is to draw the size of the bottom of the pan, cut that out, and lay it in. You don't need to worry about the sides of the pan because when you're finished, you would just take a knife or an offset spatula, and cut around the edges, and that will loosen up the cake for you, and then you can just pop it out. Or in this case, this is a springform pan and the side comes off, so that makes it easy as well. Isilner Argland, I do apologize if I've said your name wrong, asked me a really great question. What if I wanted a chocolate cake? Do I add cocoa powder? And to be honest, I have actually done that. When I mix the egg yolk with the sugar, I've added in 2 tablespoons of chocolate cocoa powder, and it worked out really nicely. Majleen Abaog asks a fabulous question, and that is, why do we need to add salt? Salt is actually an amazing ingredient to add to your cakes, and the reason is it will actually not taste salty. It will elevate the flavors of the cake. Your tongue will actually be able to notice the different essences in the cake, the lemon, the sugar, the vanilla. Because of the salt, it actually helps you taste the cake better. Another tip that I have that is not in the comments that I want to share with you, if you want to add more fluffiness to your egg, or you want to just make sure that the egg will hold even more bubbles while it's cooking, I now add 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. Yes, vinegar in the cake. You don't taste it, but what it does is the acid in the vinegar helps the egg whites to hold on to the bubbles even more, so it will help your eggs rise even higher. And that kind of answers Glory Beloved's comment about how do the egg whites rise. And it is because you're beating in the egg whites on their own, and it's grabbing the air that is around it, and it's encasing it in little bubbles. And the reason that you separate the egg yolk from the egg white is because the egg yolk has fat in it. And if you were to just mix the egg white with the egg yolk, then you would lose that fluffiness. You would lose that viscosity to stretch around the air bubbles. Is it alright if I don't use lemon extract because I want another flavor? Absolutely. Baking is all about trying. Now, does that mean that you might choose a flavor that may not end up tasting as great? Of course. But there's no harm in trying. This cake is actually incredibly affordable to make. So it's one of the best cakes to give a try and just have a go. You could change lemon extract or lemon juice for orange juice, or for strawberry, or for lime, chocolate. Give it a try and let us know in the comments what worked best for you. Madeline Walker asks me, when did you start to like baking? Honestly, I can't remember a time I did not enjoy baking. Why I did not add the sugar to the meringue. She wants to make a cake that is littler. This is one of the most versatile cake recipes that you will ever find. Now, Vivian Daisy actually has a fabulous question that I really want to take a moment to answer for you. Can you use a blender instead of a mixer if you don't have one? Asks if she can use self-rising flour. And the biggest question is, one last thing. Fondant is ridiculously expensive and tastes nasty. What if I were to give you my secret homemade marshmallow fondant recipe that tastes delicious and is not only super easy to make, incredibly affordable too? Alright, I've got a link in the description below, and you can download that for free as my gift to you. I hope you love it as much as I do. It actually tastes good. So download the free marshmallow fondant recipe. In the description below is where the link is for that. And then head over here to the mocha buttercream icing recipe and see you over there. Or you can also check out my newest video over here. Don't forget to share this video, leave me a thumbs up, make sure you've subscribed, and click that notification bell so you'll know the minute my next video comes out. Alright, let's head on over.